today it's, I think, May 4th, 3rd or 4th, it doesn't really matter, but it's early May, and the rye is really growing, really thick, and we're chisel plowing, moving about 6 miles an hour. We had quite a bit of rain here up until yesterday. Today it's beautiful outside, 70s. Sounds like the whole week is supposed to be like that. Time to get going, get ready to plant corn. So this field's been manured quite heavily with a lot of corn stalks and straw manures over the course of the winter, of course. And this rye has really took off. This rye was put in right after corn silage, if you go back to our fall videos. So 3 years now in a row, I mower plowed this under. I don't like to spray if I don't have to. It's expensive. I don't believe it's good for the soil. In some cases, a person has to do stuff like that, but we don't really have a no-till planter. I prefer to tear it up. It's all level, heavy soil. And this used to be a little bit wetter field than some of my other bodies, but this one here, I believe with the rye, it's more like, you know, like sawdust. It kind of binds up the moisture. It doesn't show that. It's almost more like angel food cake instead of like a smear or like mud. I think we're gonna give this a couple days in the sun to dry out. Then we're gonna go through this with the turbo till for sure once. We'll see what it looks like after we go through it once. But we got to get going. If I wait too long, this stuff gets way too tall. I'm not going to harvest it. We have a lot of hay left over from last year. Last year was a very, very good hay year, very good pasture year. We had a heck of a large silage pile, corn and haylage in it, so it's going to make green manure. So I did explain this in the past. The theory is to plant this winter rye in the fall. Hopefully you can get it in September, you know, after corn silage, get it in the middle of September. It starts growing, and I do put oats with it. I'll mix it about half and half, probably 100 pounds to the acre, I'm thinking it was. So the oats goes nuts in the fall. The oats will go pretty good until it gets quite cold. Once it starts getting around 10 degrees, that kills off the oats. The rye, they claim, never technically ever stops growing, even in the bitterness of winter. It just grows very, very slow. Found that kind of interesting, but I guess it makes sense. It's still alive. It's just kind of like our grass and some stuff, but it's a very tough plant. So the rye, you know, in the fall and then into the spring, it's sucking up nutrients. So we got all that manure put in there. The rye is absorbing that into its roots, and they claim what's above ground, there's more below ground than there's above. But the roots are really, really fine. I know we did some videos about that too in the past where we showed it. I'll maybe get out here in a little while and show some of that texture of the soils and stuff. Like right here where I am now, this is normally a really wet spot. It is a little damp in there, but I don't believe we're going to do any harm by tilling it like that now with this rye being like it is. Now, if there was no vegetation here, this would be too wet to be working in. It'd be better to wait. But with all the vegetation, for one thing, it's going to take a lot longer to dry out. Unless you work it up a little bit, open it up. So. Yeah, so the rye will soak up all the nutrients that that corn didn't use and that the manure had there for it. And now we're working the rye in, and the theory is this rye will break down into the soil over the course of the next 2 to 3 weeks. You know, part of the summer maybe. That might vary a little bit about what kind of conditions we get, but and then it'll feed the corn crop. So what you kind of got going is you got a row crop where you don't want any weeds, grasses, or anything growing in the corn, and then in the fall you put in, you know, this rye, which makes it like a sod field. So for the course of the fall and the winter, you got a sod field. So you kind of got some of both worlds here. Now, ideal would be to put this like in the hay for, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years, and then put it back into corn again then. But these are heavy bottoms. For one thing, heavy bottoms. It's not much for alfalfa. It usually wets it out or it freezes it out anyway, but we don't have a lot of bottoms as far as chopping corn silage and place to go with manure and stuff. So we try to focus on our corn ground on the bottoms. And besides tilling up those hills, you don't want to do that any more often than you can. So right now my rotation in my hilly fields, it'll be corn 2 years, then we'll seed oats the 3rd year, which with hay we plant with it. You know, the alfalfas and grasses get planted with the oats, and then the oats gets taken off in like late July or early August, and we could probably get a crop of hay off of that yet in like late August or maybe early September. So then it stays in hay on this farm 5, 6 years, some fields up to 10 years. So some of them are awfully steep and they're not very appealing to have row crops on anyway. So that's usually my program. And then the bottoms here, I think if we were able to have more bottoms, I think we got 27 acres of flat land, which isn't really a lot, feed 60 cows, but it does work the way we're doing it. I think we would try to do some more rotation. And then what happens when you put hay or some other crop in where there's been corn for forever, you'll get rid of any insects or anything that affects corn yields. I mean, it kind of break the cycle, so to speak. So now whatever's been feeding off the corn plants and the roots and all these different diseases that can pop up in corn, it's usually because you never give it a break. And then the hay will use the nutrients the corn didn't use, or the grasses. You can usually get a pretty good punch. So that's why us cattle guys, it works a lot better, because the row crop farmer that doesn't have cattle, he has nowhere to go with that hay. Now he may get lucky and have some dairy guys or some cattle guys that would like to buy some hay, but that's not very consistent. It's never a sure thing. So anyway, that's kind of how that all goes. But the soil is sure working up nice. It's a little bit tacky out there, but concerned if I wait another day or 2 or 3 to dry out more, this rye is just going to get taller and heavier, and it's not going to work down very good. Then I'll for sure have to moldboard it again. So I've been looking at moldboard plows. I'm looking at reversible plows right now. I think that's probably going to be my best bet. There isn't a lot to choose from locally, that's built here, that's rollover. I've been making phone calls. I got a machinery jockey that he's been in this business forever. He's usually kind of specializes in tillage equipment. He picks it up from those plain states where a lot of the machines are too small for there and they have appealing for here. But so I got him kind of looking, but he hasn't got back to me, and I know for sure he would if he if he found something he knew that he could sell. That's just his business. But so reversible plow, John Deere builds one. I don't remember the number now. It's a 5 something. I haven't had a lot of experience with reversible plows. So what I'd like to have happen is you guys that do, or that have experience with reversible plows, let us know in the comments what you think, because even on hillsides, does it roll the dirt over really nice, or is it not quite? Like your conventional plow would do. And the rollover plow, I guess, would be a little more of a conventional idea, but then again, I'm a little concerned it's going to be hard to manage, being that it's extremely heavy. I've heard that the older ones, even like John Deere, I've heard a guy say they couldn't find parts for the opposite side. I guess I wouldn't know how to even explain that, but you got 2 different sides. Your moldboards are for the one side aren't going to fit the other side, so you got that thing going on. So then it's kind of hard to start looking for something old when you can't buy the parts for it. But I know Kuhn makes one. Anyway, it would be a little more appealing plowing with something like that, because even though these fields are flat, they're not. They're not square, they're crooked. I think you could get a better pattern, of course, in them. I don't know, I think I'd be using it quite a bit in this type of situation. It'd be a lot less fuel used and time. I think on this farm with our heavy soil, it would probably outlast me as far as, I don't believe I'd wear it out. Oh, here we're spinning a little bit. Little monkey right here. You can kind of see it with the rye too. It's this is probably the wettest spot in the whole area I got to go through here. So we got like 23 acres to go through with the rye. Anyway, so maybe enough talk for now. I'm going to put you guys out on the plow. I think some of you guys would really enjoy watching that soil tumble through that thing. Yeah, so this is a Deutz Allis. It's a 9-shank chisel plow, and then it's got the straight blades in front, which are designed, for instance, if you're going through like corn stalks or something, it would slice it so it wouldn't plug. I've owned this thing for like 25 years. Bought it on an auction. And anything bigger, I mean, a 9-shank, it would maybe pull it in certain conditions. We start getting on the hillsides, this is enough. Now the only concern I got is if I put you guys out on a plow, I might lose it. What we got here is a huge magnet on the bottom of the GoPro. I mean, I guess there's a lot of iron on there. If it's seated right, it should stay put. This is what I mean by the angel food texture. Got some worms in there, lots of fine roots. Like I said, it's a little bit wet out here, but it's not something I think we're going to be waiting around on. I don't think this is going to settle out unless we open this soil up. And I think we give it a couple days, and then we hit it with the turbo till. It should break it up real nice. Yeah, so you can really see them fine roots. And you look here, I mean, it ain't super thick, but we got quite a bit of manure on top of the ground already, and with that rye, it's split tall here. But to harvest something like this, I think we'd just be robbing from the corn crop, really. So I like this. This is good. Well, okay, I think this video is getting pretty long. Well, we're just about done with this 8-acre field. I got a couple acres of this left. But it looks good. I'm happy with what the rye is doing. All right, I'll let you guys go.